p.m. We will call the Town of Middleton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order for this Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. Welcome, everybody. The first item on our agenda this evening is the approval of our minutes from November 20th and December 18th. Before we get to that, I did want to mention that Member Renault will be taking a sabbatical from the board for a short period. And with that, I would like to nominate, someone should nominate one of our alternate members to that. And so with that, Linda Richards, having the tenure, we would like to, so I'll accept the motion to have Linda be our member.
I'll move that.
All right, moved by Carolyn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Craig. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Welcome, Linda, to the voting. All right, approval of our November 20th and December 18th minutes. Any corrections, deletions, additions, or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes of November 20th and December 18th.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right. Item 2, continued public hearings, 227 Maple and 0 Gregory Street, the Borough. Applicant is requesting a withdrawal of the site plan modification approval application. Before we get to that, I would like to, we did get correspondence from the town clerk, and I would ask the vice chair to read that into the record as requested by the town clerk.
Okay. Do you want me to read the memo first and then the public hearing, or?
I would read, why don't you just read the memo first, just so that it's in the record.
January 20th, 2026, to the Zoning Board of Appeals from Eileen Twist, Town Clerk. And it's a request to read her testimony into the record. Regarding the public hearing from December 15th, 2025. And the matter is 227 Maple Street and 0 Gregory Street. And it's a site plan modification approval. I respectfully request that the following statement be read into the official record of the December 18th, 2025 Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing regarding 227 Maple Street and 0 Gregory Street, the Borough, as it directly addresses statements made during the hearing by Mr. Johnson that referenced my office and my role as town clerk. During the December 18th, 2025 public hearing, Mr. Johnson made statements asserting that he was denied access to filed plans and that he has been waiting for over a year for responses to public record requests. These statements are categorically false and require correction to ensure the accuracy of the public record. Interaction on December 16th, 2025. On December 16th, 2025, Mr. Johnson visited the town clerk's office. During this visit, he reviewed the plans on file corresponding to the Johnson filings. Mr. Johnson did not request hard copies of the plans originally filed with my office. At no time was he denied copies of any records, contrary to his statements during the December 18th, 2025 public hearing. It is also important to note that the same corresponding plans Mr. Johnson reviewed in person had previously been provided electronically via public records requests and shared by email with Donna Johnson on 2 separate occasions. The records provided during the December 16th, 2025 visit, Mr. Johnson was provided with certified copies of the following documents on file in the town's clerk's office. The complete Zoning Board of Appeals applications and decisions from the years 2000 and 2014. The ZBA filing numbers are 00-19 and 14-976. In addition, the corresponding plans associated with these matters had already been shared through public records requests made by Donna Johnson, as well as through additional public records requests submitted by Paula Johnson. Public records requests. Mr. Johnson also stated during the December 18th, 2025 public hearing that he has been waiting for over a year for a response to a public records request. This statement is absolutely untrue. As the chief Public Records Access Officer for the town of Middleton. All public records requests submitted over the years by members of the Johnson family have been responded to in accordance with the Massachusetts Public Records Law. All responsive records have been provided when available and remain accessible through the town clerk's office. I submit this memorandum to ensure the official record accurately reflects the facts and to correct the misstatements made during the December 18th, 2025 public hearing. Respectfully submitted, Eileen Twist.
Thank you. One other thing before we start, and I've been told that I have the authority to do this, I also would like to appoint Anthony as well as take him off of alternate as a voting member for this evening. So, Anthony, you're also a voting member this evening. Thank you. All right. We had other correspondence. Carolyn, you want to read that as well?
Sure. This is from Hyperion Design Group, Zoning Board of Appeals withdrawal. This was received on January 5th, 2026. This document serves as official notice to withdraw our application without prejudice for site plan approval via Zoning Board of Appeals for 227 Maple Street and 0 Gregory Street, Middleton, Mass. 01949. If you have any questions or comments regarding this withdrawal request, please contact me at your earliest convenience. Thanks, Jim DeBarro.
Okay. Do we have anyone here this evening? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim DeBarro from Hyperion Design Group. We're just going to go ahead and withdraw our application for 227 Maple and 0 Gregory Street. What we're looking to do is my client has retained legal counsel here, and what we're going to be going forward with is a more comprehensive plan, right? So we're looking to withdraw with what we have now, so that way we don't, waste any more time than we already have. So we can come back to you guys with a plan that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, I guess the big question would be, you're asking to withdraw without prejudice, and given the violations on the property, can you explain why the board would be entertaining a withdrawal without prejudice?
Essentially just because we're still trying to do it the right way. And with that, my client has retained, legal counsel to help guide him in the most right way possible, right? So we're essentially trying to, make sure that what we do submit next is exactly what you guys are looking for, something you guys can deliberate on, something you guys can discuss and come to an agreement with my client as well as with the town on a plan that's acceptable.
Okay. Members, Carolyn, questions, comments? Craig? Nothing? Anthony?
None.
Linda?
Nothing.
Commissioner? Nothing. Any comment? Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll move to grant the petitioner's request to withdraw without prejudice.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. We'll
Thank
see you again. All right. New public hearings. 35 Village Road, Ferncroft CC LLC. Applicant is requesting a comprehensive permit for the creation of multifamily housing. Madam Vice Chair, would you read the legal ad, please?
In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 48, Section 11, Mass General Law, the Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 22nd, 2026 at 7 p.m. At the Fuller Meadow School Media Center, 143 South Main Street, on the application for Ferncroft LLC for a comprehensive permit under the provisions of General Law 40B, Sections 20 to 23. The applicant is proposing the construction and operation of a proposed 200-unit rental residential community to be known as Ferncroft Apartments, along with parking, landscaping, open space, and other improvements to be located on the property at 35 Village Road, found on Assessors Map 21, Lot 5. Plans are on file at the Town Clerk, Memorial Hall, and the Zoning Board of Appeals office at the DPW building. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the application should appear here tonight.
Thank you. Do we have anybody here? Yes, we do. Just one thing I do want to mention, because I know there are probably a lot of folks here who are interested in this application. I'm presuming this is going to be a detailed process that's going to go over several meetings. I understand that you may have a schedule of what you'll be presenting. Tonight sounds like it's just going to be an overview of the project, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so there'll be several meetings afterwards. I'm presuming this will be similar to other projects that at least you've represented in town where there would be, one night would be on a particular topic, another night would be on a different topic, that sort of thing. Is that your approach?
That's the understanding, yes.
Okay, so why don't you have at it?
Okay, thanks. Do I need the microphone or?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair and other members of the board. For the record, John Smolak of firm Smolak and Vaughn, 120 Water Street, North Andover, representing the applicant, Ferncroft Apartments. What we intend to cover in terms of this evening's presentation is to, as the chair had indicated, a very broad introductory overview of the proposed project, and with the understanding, as was mentioned by the chair, that there will be subsequent hearings that will be dedicated to certain topics like traffic, stormwater, and the like. And so for this evening, what we intend to cover for the agenda is first, after the introduction to the development team, briefly discuss the materials provided in the application that was submitted by the applicant, then follow with a very general project overview, and then follow that with a description of the building program for the proposed project. And from there, we'll proceed to site layout, lotting, utilities, and stormwater, followed by a description of site access, circulation, and traffic and parking, and then discuss in a little more detail the architectural design and the elevations that are being presented this evening, and then conclude with a short, brief description of how the project meets certain master plan goals from the town, as well as proposed community benefits. And so, with that said, and before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to members of the project team, many of whom you'll hear from this evening. First, we have William Gentile from Sovereign Partners, representing the applicant development team. We also have with us Tony Capuchetti and Jesse Johnson, project civil engineers with Weston and Sampson. In addition, we have Ed Bradford and June Zeringer with the architectural team, our project architects. Several members of the team aren't here with us this evening, including Jeffrey Dirk of Advanced Associates, our project traffic engineer, as well as Lynn Sweet of LDS Consultants, our project affordable housing consultant. Before we get started, and I guess for those of you who weren't at the public forum this past September, what I'd like to do is take a brief second and introduce you to Bill Gentile, who is the managing director of Sovereign, the owner of the property and the proponent of the project. And if Bill, you can give us a few
Yeah,
comments.
sure. You want me to come over there, or you want?
Sure, whatever you feel comfortable with.
First of all, thanks to everyone for coming out tonight. I'm Bill Gentile. I've been with Sovereign Partners for almost 20 years. I'm a managing director with the firm. We're a third generation family business. Currently, we own about 7 million square feet throughout the country. We've owned Ferncroft for, I believe it's over 10 years now. We acquired the property in, I think it was 2014, with the intent of operating it as an office building. We've stuck with the building through COVID and through other cycles, and now we're looking to continue to invest in the property. We think it will. So that's what I got. Too much?
That's fine, thank you. And so before we get into the substance of the discussion, I just wanted to update the board and the public in terms of what we've been doing since the September public forum. Since that time, we've prepared additional studies. We prepared a detailed stormwater report, traffic report, as well as a geotechnical report, which allowed us to fine-tune the elements of the project. We've also performed some preliminary outreach to abutters and to town departments and officials. And back on January 13th, we met with the design group, the town's design review group, which was a very helpful discussion. As a result of those meetings, we've been able to make some proposed design changes, which we feel are positive design adjustments to building height, to buffering, and to layout that you'll hear about shortly this evening. As to the application, the comprehensive permit application that was filed with the board, what I will say is that we feel that we filed a complete application conforming to the requirements of Chapter 40B, the Chapter 40B regulations, as well as the Board of Appeals comprehensive permit rules. And in terms of what's been submitted, they included, in terms of a summary of what's been included, includes a copy of a project eligibility letter that was issued to the applicant back in October of last year, I should say, indicating, and that project eligibility letter was issued by Mass Housing in accordance with the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston's New England Fund as the subsidy, and with Mass Housing as a subsidizing agency. In terms of that project eligibility letter, that letter did confirm, based upon Mass Housing's own review, that as a matter of fact, the regulations require Mass Housing to make certain findings before they issue a project eligibility letter. And several of those are that they've determined that the site is an appropriate location for multifamily residential development, that the project design is appropriate for the site, and that the project's financially feasible within the Middleton housing market. And lastly, that the applicant controls the site. And in addition to that, the materials that we provided in the application includes a set of preliminary civil development plans, also a report on existing conditions, a preliminary scaled set of architectural drawings and elevations, floor plans, including floor plans and elevations, tabulation of units, the project eligibility letter, which I just mentioned, as well as a preliminary list of requested waivers from Town of Middleton local requirements. And so from there,
Excuse me,
yes.
sir. I asked you if you could just hold the mic a little
Sure.
closer.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. And just turning to a general broad description of the project itself is located, the site is located at 35 Village Drive Road, which is approximately 12.5 acres in size, and as you see by this aerial plan, is bounded by Village Road and Locust Street. The existing improvements include an 8-story, 235,000 square foot existing office building, as you see there, along with an adjacent existing parking garage. The proposed project site will be a 2.5 acre portion of the 12.5 acre parcel, and it's proposed on a separate lot, and is located entirely within the interstate highway zoning business district. And the proposed project, as you know, includes a total of 200 proposed multifamily residential rental units to be allocated between 2 separate buildings on the property, with primary access off of the existing Village Road driveway, with secondary driveway, which is designated for emergency access only, which will be gated access off of Locust Street. And so at this point, what I'd like to do is turn the discussion over to Ed Bradford of the architectural team, who will just run through the development program in a little more detail.
Thanks, John, and good evening, folks. For the record, Ed Bradford, principal with TAT. Nice to be before you again this evening. So as John said, I can start here by just running through a few stats. John covered them in some extent, but just to elaborate a bit, as was noted, there are 2 buildings proposed, excuse me, 2 new buildings proposed, Building A and Building B. I'll show you in the site plan in a moment. Building A includes 106 units, and Building B includes 94 units. The chart in the upper left-hand corner shows the proposed mix of apartment homes, and it's a mix that includes 70% 1-bedroom and studio units, 20% 2-bedroom units, and 10% 3-bedroom units. 10% is as required per the comprehensive permit guidelines. And then you'll notice there's a high percentage of smaller units in that mix, and that's intentional. So 135 of the 200 units are studios are primarily one-bedroom units, 135 one-bedroom units. And again, as I said, that's intentional. That's to appeal to a market that would include empty nesters or seniors, single professionals, young couples, and the like. So smaller units that we think would do well here. Serve folks that don't need such a large home. Serve folks that don't need such an expensive unit. The chart in the lower left corner here shows the mix of affordable units. So again, as required by the comprehensive permit guidelines, 25% of the units are affordable. So this chart shows the basic mix, but they are distributed evenly by type, by location, by amenity, same finishes, same appliances throughout for market and affordable units. You can't tell the difference from one to the other, but they're dispersed throughout. 50 of the 200 units qualify in that affordable category. Some of the building features that are proposed, we think this is a building type that does serve that market of seniors and other folks that I noted, because all buildings are served by elevators. So the two buildings have elevators. One of them has covered parking. So in that regard, all of the units are visible, all the units are accessible. So a user-friendly building in that regard. Other features that are proposed, building B, as I'll show you in a site plan in a moment, includes a leasing office that serves the community, that serves both buildings. Each building will have a really robust package room that's required these days for sure, and mill rooms in each. We've noted before, that I'll show in a moment, the stepping of the building is quite conducive to roof decks, so we are proposing 2 roof deck amenities, 1 in each building. Trash and recyclables, that function for residents happens within the buildings. So we have interior trash rooms at the base of the buildings, so there's no exterior exposed dumpsters. All of that, trash and recyclables happen within the building at the base of the building. We also include in Building A maintenance facility that would serve the new community, as well as indoor bike storage. We'll touch on parking in a little bit more detail this evening as well, but we think we have a smart parking plan. There's an existing garage here that's underutilized. So the parking plan includes a combination of new surface spaces, some new garage spaces below Building B, and then a shared use to take advantage of that abundance of parking that exists in that existing garage today. This just shows the existing conditions that John really just covered. As John noted, the site is sort of triangular in shape. Village Road is just to the north. Locust Street is just to the south. The cluster of buildings, there really is, as folks know, a really great residential community about this site. You'll see in a moment that we certainly did consider the scale of buildings about our site when we designed and proposed the master plan, site plan for this community. But as this slide notes, and folks know well, there's a larger cluster of taller buildings just across to the north of Village. So that includes Ironwood on the Green at 36 Village, which is 2 sub-story buildings, and Ferncroft Tower just across the street. That is a 13-story building. That's certainly a context I'll note in a moment that we considered. So this slide does show our proposed site plan. So I can start with the bar building. Building A is just here, just north of the parking garage. And then to the north of that is the L-shaped building, Building B. So Building A is located at the location of the existing parking lot that's just north of the existing parking garage at that location. And then Building B, just north of that, set into the hillside that definitely that slope has informed our design as well. where each building is 5 stories, but when I say each building, really each building is divided into 2 parts. So the bar building has a step in it, just about at the midpoint, and the L-shaped building also has a step in it, a high stepping down to a lower section, and that's basically to nestle the buildings really into the grade. As everyone knows, it's a sloping site, so we're doing our best to set the buildings into the grade, minimize the disruption, topography, and the like, really to be fitting for this hillside site. So again, the goal for the design is considering the scale of the buildings on the north side of Village Road to locate our buildings closer to that cluster of existing buildings. And then as far as locus goes, where the existing homes are smaller and lower in scale, to do our best to include a buffer that would screen the buildings from the homes along Locust, as well as the homes at Ironwood, just to the north. So there's a cluster of homes that are green that I'll show you in a moment in another exhibit. But the idea is to cluster again the taller buildings towards the existing taller buildings and do our best to minimize the impacts to the homes on Locust Street and to the north of the site. After the public forum, we heard, as John noted, we heard a lot of good feedback at the public forum, but there was some actual specific feedback that we received. It was requested that we and Weston and Sampson reach out to the resident at 65 Locust, because, as I said, our goal here was to minimize impacts on the lower scale buildings that are certainly lower than what we're proposing. So minimize the impacts of those homes along Locust. And there's one particular home at 65 Locust where the impacts in our initial design certainly were the most severe. So what this exhibit shows are some changes that we actually made after the public forum. We did go ahead and incorporate those into the comprehensive permit drawings, so those are in the application, but different than the PAL, and in some ways, and different than what we presented at the public forum. And these designs came about from our work with the resident at 65 Locust. So what this exhibit shows on the left is the design at the time of the public forum. So this is Building B, this is Locust, and this is the home at 65 Locust. And the concerns that the resident expressed to us were pretty straightforward and obvious. The existing buffer that exists today serves the residents along Locust very well, screening the existing parking garage. So there's a concern that the leg of Building B at the time of the public forum, that leg was only 65 feet from 65 Locust, and asked what we could do to pull that leg of the building back so we could grow, have more buffer along Locust and provide a better screening visually from the homes along Locust. So that's an adjustment that we did make, and on the right shows the change that we made. The additional concerns that we heard was that the height of the building as well. And then the third concern is the location of the parking garage entry. So as you can see on the design that we presented at the public forum, the garage door was directly opposite 65 Locust. We've made an adjustment there. So this shows the adjustment that we did incorporate into the comprehensive permit package and is our current proposal. So you can see we went ahead and we pulled the leg of the building back. We grew the north leg a bit in order to compensate for that. So we increased the buffer, the setback from 65 feet to 80 feet, and that is important. And my colleague Gian will show you that in a rendering in a moment. We have a view from about the vantage point of about the location on 65 Locust, and you can see the impact of that. But our intent here is with this larger buffer, really to continue the pattern that exists along Locust, that exists along in front of that parking garage. The intent is to minimize, again, visual impacts from Locust. So that's an important adjustment. The other change that we made was to shift the driveway so that the garage entrance and exit isn't just opposite the home at Locust. We pulled that around the corner and into the knuckle or interior corner of the building. So we think that's an important change, and we're grateful for the feedback that we received. So this shows the elevation from the same vantage point, really, looking from Locust Street. Again, on the left is the design that we had at the time of the public forum, and on the right is our adjustment. So it wasn't just a change in plan and shortening up the leg that was closest to Locust, we also reduced the height. So again, on the left is a public forum design where we had 5 stories over the lower level garage. And then on the right, our proposed design where we now have 4 stories over the garage. So a full reduction in height up by 1 story. But more importantly, and again, the rendering that Gian will show in a moment, this is not the view that you'll have from Locust, because that mature tree canopy with that distance will be retained. So it will be quite screened.
Members, do you want to have questions or wait till the end?
I was just wondering,
Well, that, first question, do we want to have questions now or wait till the end?
right to the end.
I'm gonna turn it over to Tony.
Well, all right, so before he sits, do you have a question, Anthony?
I have a brief question. You're talking about roof decks. Well, the roof deck, if you go back to the prior screen, we reduced the height of the front building on the right there.
Yeah,
Is the roof deck gonna be on that, or is it gonna be on the lower one?
it's on the lower one. You can just make it out right here.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Ed. For the record, Tony Capuchetti with Weston and Sampson. Our office is at 55 Walker's Road in Reading, Massachusetts. Expanding on what Ed had brought up, bringing up revisions through the public forum, through working with your public safety officials, other boards, departments, public works. We took these comments to heart. One of the comments that actually came up in the public forum was the combination of, whether it was a condominium or individual lotting. We took a look. We can provide a division of land through this process. There are 3 parcels there, but to simplify it, there is the existing parcel, because there's a small land court parcel off the end. There's the existing parcel of 12.5 acres combined that serves the commercial use. We're looking to break off this red area, which encompasses the residential buildings. The residential lot would be afforded the zoning waivers through the 40B process. The commercial lot would remain as compliant as the existing commercial lot today when this division goes through. So that's our intention, is to break these through. This is a simplistic version of the plan, as there would need to be cross easements to allow for use of the driveways, shared parking, other open space and amenities at the site.
But just before you go any further, Tom Attorney has a question for you, Joe.
Right, so, and might be a question for John as well. Is there existing special permits or site plan approval for that garage? Because I understand and agree with the notion of separating it off. It
Yes.
makes life a lot easier.
Yes. There is an existing, there was an existing parking variance that was granted back in 1988, as well as a site plan approval for the project. And so as a result, what we're doing is we're creating the separate lot. And what we're doing is similar to what we did in Villbridge, which is, allowing the board to step into the shoes of actually it was the Board of Appeals decision to allow the board to modify that decision to allow both the existing uses and the proposed uses to exist and coexist.
Right,
on
so,
site.
and the subdivision the board can do, that's not an issue, but if those, and I don't know who grants were granted, obviously the variance would have been granted by this board.
Mhm.
but we'll need some amendments probably for the site plan and the variance, I'm assuming, here in a separate application. Because the idea is to keep the existing away from the 40B requirements, which I totally support here, but if we're changing some of the underlying characteristics of those prior issued permits, and I haven't seen the variance, so I can't say that
Sure.
it might consider a change
Sure.
in this and how much we can accommodate, but site plan probably is gonna have to get
Sure.
amended a little.
Well, we can have that further discussion.
Sure, I just wanted to flag it early.
As a possibility,
Yeah.
or could be.
I just
a
did
variance
something
or
very
waiver.
similar to this in another community.
Yeah.
And it worked pretty well, but
Mhm.
we're gonna need to patch up all those permits, protects you, protects us.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you. We can go to the next slide. So this is a representation of the site plan. As we discussed earlier, access will come through the existing Village Road site access. It continues around to the existing drive that serves the existing parking garage on site. We're then taking the existing parking deck, providing some kind of a boulevard-style parallel parking spaces in front of Building A that will serve for rideshare drop-off, deliveries, as well as a dedicated emergency fire lane that will be right in front of the main entrance at the front of the building. That will allow emergency vehicles to access into the building. Discussing with your public safety, most of the calls they receive out here are medical calls, so access to the elevator shaft. They've been great to work with. They've made a lot of suggestions. They have a few more that have come out recently that we're working towards. That access then travels to essentially a circular turnaround at the center of the site. That was sized for the newest Middleton apparatus that will be delivered, I believe, in 2 years. We just received a request to look at the Danvers Tower, which would come for mutual aid. It's a little bit longer, not a huge difference, so we're evaluating that. We're starting to build out that model to do the turning radiuses. What it looks like is we might have to shrink the green space in the center a little bit to accommodate the overhang. However, we do seem to have enough space for that. Then you come out towards Locust Street. We heard loud and clear that through access to Locust Street was not something that was desired. So to really drive that home, what we're doing is we're putting mountable curves onto the connection from our site onto Locust Street, so like a slope granite edge treatment. And then because this site all drains in its current condition towards Village Road, we want to be able to limit the amount of runoff that's generated. So that'll be a pervious paver stone type material, kind of dress up that entrance, but also it's a visual deterrent that you shouldn't be driving through there. We're also going to provide a crash gate at the entrance, so people will not use it. Fire department will have a radio as well as emergency services that will open that gate automatically, and we'll tie that into the system.
Just a quick
Sure.
question, and I'm sure we'll have site plans with dimensions on it. What's the radius of the roundabout? 60 feet?
I believe it's a touch more than that. I think it was like 62 or 64.
Okay. And just a comment on the pervious pavement in this part of the country with winter operations and things like that. Unless you're going to have a really good maintenance plan, that stuff lasts maybe the first year. So just things to think about.
So not porous pavement, but more of a paver stone itself.
Okay.
I agree. The porous pavement, as much as it's a great idea, it gets clogged up. You need a special vacuum to use it. So this would be more kind of rated for H20 loading, but like what you'd see around a pool patio, decorative to really kind of dress that up and break it off from.
And I apologize for getting in the weeds. We got a long way.
No,
I'm sorry about that.
I'm sure, just for everyone here, we're
The
fully
wheels are
expecting
turning.
peer review. There'll be a lot of comments, so but we've tried to accommodate a lot of things going into this, and I'm sure there'll be more requests as we go forward. Heading out towards Building B, you'll see this kind of a turnaround area that juts out parallel to the leg of the building. That is a dedicated emergency spot as well that can stage the larger fire apparatus for parking, as well as allow it to do a three-point turn and exit out of that area. That would allow for access again to the elbow in the building, main elevator shaft for turns, for emergency calls. What we've also done is we have hydrants that run through the site. There was a request at the public forum. We're actually running the water main out to Locust Street and dead-ending it at Locust Street with the hydrant. That serves a couple of purposes. It allows us to flush the water system. It is a private water system that runs through to Danvers on a high-pressure system. It also adds needed fire protection to the residential area. There are very few hydrants out there, and the Middleton system is a lower pressure system in that area. So moving into utilities, there is a 12-inch private water loop that runs through the site. It actually cuts through between the garage and the office building. That's where we'll pick it up and carry it through the site to serve the two buildings. These will be fully sprinkled buildings. The sewer on the site is served by Southern Essex Sewer District through town of Danvers. So we will be continuing to coordinate with Middleton and Danvers both, as well as Southern Essex Sewer District. We've been in touch with them. So your Public Works Department's been great to work with as well for that, and they want to be involved with the discussions with Danvers, and we will continue to do so. Sewer here will be fed gravity down Village Road to a proposed pump station. You'll see this kind of little driveway turnoff here. It's a gravel drive where there'll be a pump station at the bottom. It also serves a purpose. The fire apparatus can enter there should they need to have a staging point off of Village Road where they wouldn't be directly in Village Road. So it's a dual purpose turnoff. And then that force main would run through the site along the shoulder of Locust Street up to the existing apex manhole that is on the Middleton-Danvers town line in Locust Street. There is a large pump station for the office building. We thought it's better to separate those two. You run into some issues with maintenance as well as pumping up from one pump station to another causes some difficulties as well. So this would be a fully separate system that serves the residential use only. Site served by Middleton Electric Light Department. They're at the design review meeting, and we're starting discussions with them. For stormwater on site, surprisingly, it's a very minimal increase in impervious surfaces when you take the buildings out. The building rooftop areas under the Mass Stormwater Handbook are considered clean for infiltration, so that's how we handle them. We take the rooftop runoff and we put it to a set of underground chambers in this fill area where the roundabout is. And then after infiltrating, we discharge to the existing swale. There's a concrete swale that's on our property that runs along the edge of the road. We have plans to improve that swale in that it'll be cleaned and it'll be part of the ongoing operations and maintenance plan for this project. So it'll continue to be cleaned of debris, vegetation that's growing. It's a concrete lined swale, and any damage that we discover when we go out and do maintenance will be repaired as an ongoing part of this project. That leaves about, it was a very small, on the order of like 2,000 square feet increase in impervious surfaces once you took the building rooftops off. Because we are occupying that existing parking garage, and then it's very minimal increases due to the roadway system or driveway system. That is captured by deep sump catch basins, goes to water quality inlets, and then there are 3 detention ponds that slow the water down, provide for some infiltration before going for a larger pond down here that mitigates the larger flows and then discharges to that concrete swale again. There's no increase in peak rate of runoff in any of the storm conditions from this project. One thing I do want to bring up is when we were out there investigating, we did find a 30-inch drain that bisects the site. There's no easement for it. Talking to Public Works, some of Locust Street is tied into that, and we're willing to clean that up when we do the logging plan to add a dedicated easement for the town of Middleton to be able to continue to use that. Throughout the site, we provide pedestrian connectivity. There's walkways that are ADA compliant, connects to all the facility elements, including the existing garage. There will be the requirement to relocate some of the ADA spaces in that existing garage so they can serve the Building A parking. And then the walkway is also adjacent to that emergency access road. That allows connectivity to the existing sidewalk network in Locust Street, and we're providing a crosswalk with rapid flashing beacons to allow for access across there. While this is not going to generate a lot of school children with 70% one-bedroom units, the school bus stops are on Locust Street, so that was the intent of making sure there's connectivity.
How far is the bus stop from, how far would the kids have to walk?
I believe it's right at the corner. It was either Nickel Street or the next one, because every time I've been out there, there's.
It's on the
Yes,
corner, I'm on the corner of Nichols and Locust.
All right, so
It's across the street from my house, which is pretty much where emergency road is gonna be.
So the emergency road, we adjusted, so it comes out, there's kind of like a large wooded area in between 65. So what we did was we tried to align that directly into the center of that wooded area, so there wouldn't be, not that there's going to be headlights coming out because it's only for emergency vehicles. There would be minimal intrusion even from cars coming down the hill and taking.
What do you, well, just curious.
I'll get to you.
All right.
I'll get to you.
As far as grading goes, we did try to work with the slope by not only stepping the building, we did tiered retaining walls. Throughout the site, they're designed so they can be gravity block retaining walls. The 16 feet is the highest section of all the retaining walls, excepting one area right at the corner here, and we're working with the architect to possibly increase the exposed amount of foundation there and get that down to 16 feet. The walls at the roundabout are 12 feet high and staggered, and then we have the area of green space in between, which will allow for robust landscaping to kind of hide that tiered wall from the Village Road way. Moving into lighting and landscaping, we are preparing a landscaping plan and lighting plan that'll be forthcoming. We figured we'd get some peer review comments and some commentary on the overall layout before finalizing that. All lighting will be dark sky compliant at the site. And just about done, I apologize. As was stated before, it'll be shared parking at 1.5 spaces per unit dedicated for the residential use. So 300 spaces throughout the site will be dedicated to the residential use. If we go to the next slide, there's a lot going on for traffic, and Jeff Dirk isn't here tonight. We plan on having a dedicated traffic meeting, but overall, there was satisfactory site distance, level of service was acceptable with the proposed use. There were some recommendations that included adding some stop signage at some of the intersections coming into Village Road, as well as that rapid flashing beacon for the pedestrian crossing that we intend to incorporate into the site. We're sure that the peer review consultant will have some other questions that Jeff can handle and we can incorporate moving forward. So I'll turn the presentation over to June, who can go over some of the elevations and renderings for the site.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Jian Zieringer. I'm an architect at TAT. So on the screen, we're just showing the aerial view of the project site under existing conditions. I'm just gonna really quickly go over what's shown on the screen. The ironwood is on the right bottom corner. It's two-story, two of the 7-story buildings with about 400 units. On the west side of this image, the Ferncroft Tower is there with 13-story high.
Excuse me, can I correct you? It's 200 units, it's not 400 units.
Oh. Okay, sorry, we'll correct that. That's two, yeah, we will correct our presentation. Sorry about that. So Ironwood is 200 units. Ferncroft Tower is at 13 stories tall with 177 units. Is that correct? And we're looking at the existing office building at the top with 8 stories tall. And the existing parking garage is located centrally on the parcel. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the same aerial view of the site with the proposed buildings. Building A, which is right below the office building, it's a bar-shaped structure, and it's located. We placed it immediately adjacent to the existing parking garage, which replaces the current surface parking lot. And building B is an L-shaped structure along the south eastern portion of the site, with the shared drop-off roundabouts located centrally between Building A and Building B to support site circulation and emergency access. Next slide, please. So here I'm just going to go over really quickly about our design approach. So the site, as everybody knows, the site has a very challenging site grading difference. So rather than treating grading as a constraint, our design approach was to integrate the existing topography to minimize physical and visual impacts to the neighbors of the surrounding site. So building A's massing is divided, and we step down to meet grade, reducing its perceived height and overall site disturbance. And building B is also this similar strategy, with 2 levels of podium parking integrated beneath the higher portion of the building, and the longer leg facing Village Road is stepped down to align closely, and we try to meet the natural grade as much as possible. So the facade design is the facade design further mitigates scale through simple and organized window patterns, and articulated. We articulate more massing in that way. Each facade is composed of 3 distinct volumes, breaking down the overall building scale, using changing in color and texture, while the vertical bay elements kind of placed along the facade establish the rhythm and visually tie the elevations all together. So next slide, please. So this is the street level view of the proposed conditions. Just to orient everybody, so we're on Locust Street facing towards the north, and looking down the hill, and you can see 65 Locust Street house in the center of this image. And the proposed emergency access with the gate is shown on the right-hand side, with the crosswalk just at the front side of this image. And as Ed had mentioned earlier in our presentation, our approach, we try really hard to maintain the existing tree lines and tree canopies to create this buffer between all the neighbors along Locust Street. So this hope just to minimize the impact of this development. So this is our proposed conditions on Village Road, street view level. So we are looking towards west on street level. The ironwood is behind the tree lines on the right-hand side, and the existing office building is on the top left corner. So here you can see the transitioning of the massing kind of coming down from the existing office building down to our proposed building. You see here is our proposed building A, So you see the volume of building A structure stepping down to the lower portion of the 5-story of building A2, A1 and A2 here. So you can see here as we tried our design approach to break down the massing using the colors and textures, and also kind of play of the window patterns as well as the vertical elements of the base here. So with that, I'll hand it over to
Just quickly, I won't go through this slide in detail, but the slide basically is designed to sort of identify how we think the project meets some of the goals and objectives of the master plan and the town's housing production plan. And in terms of housing diversity, for example, the project will add diversity to the housing stock in Middleton for much needed rental housing. Project will allow for the town to meet its housing production goals, which I'll discuss in a little more detail shortly. And the project is really located on an underutilized site, but has all utilities in terms of sewer, water, electrical, and the like. So we think it's a typical smart growth type of location near transportation nodes as well. I will mention too, in terms of community benefits, we think there are 4 major community benefits. If we can get to the next slide, in terms of fulfilling a need for rental housing, given that the household size in Middleton is really continuing to decline, and where 84% of the housing in Middleton is dedicated to single-family housing, we think that this rental project does provide an opportunity for both for seniors to downsize and to stay within the town of Middleton, and also an opportunity to provide younger households with the ability to stay in Middleton as well with another rental option. As I mentioned previously, the site's located close to major transportation corridors with existing utilities available, so we think it's an ideal area for a redevelopment. The proposal that you have before you for 200 units, 25% of those units will be set aside as affordable housing, with the balance of the units being market rate housing. But in that circumstance, all those units count towards the town's subsidized housing inventory, towards its 10% goal. And let me explain that a little bit further in terms of the significance of this project in terms of the 10% affordable housing goal. Currently, the town's published subsidized housing inventory is listed at 6.9%, which is a little high because of the fact that because the Villbridge project has come off the inventory, it's really down to about 5.1%. If this project was approved, it would bounce up to 11.11%. Based on my math, well above the 10% goal. And as Villbridge comes online with a building permit, that would bring the town to approximately 12.9%, a little over 12.9% of its SHI. And again, the significance of that is that it allows the town to dictate, at least in terms of Chapter 40B, the direction it may want to take with respect to certain affordable housing projects in the future. And would also mean that the town would be protected from unwanted 40Bs, probably not only beyond 2030, but even perhaps to 2040, depending on what housing is built over the next number of years in the town. So again, we think that's an important benefit to the town as well. And with that, I'd say that this presentation is concluded, and happy to take any questions the board or the public may.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So I think the format of this evening, I'm going to go to the members for questions, and then we have the town planner, the building commissioner, the town administrator, and our legal counsel here. I'll go to any of those folks as well if you have questions or comments you'd like to make. And then we'll go to the public, and you guys can ask questions. Again, just recognize we're at the 30,000 foot level on this. I even caught myself getting into the weeds on questions. So We have a long way to go. If you have sort of generalized questions, otherwise we'll, we could be here till tomorrow morning, and we don't want to do that. So, members, I'll start with Linda. Any questions or comments?
I had one question.
Here's a mic.
Back,
Have a mic.
back on September 2nd, one of my notes indicates that you were still thinking through outdoor amenities, and, including the rooftop, but not exclusively the rooftop space. Has there been any further? I didn't hear anything further about that tonight. Is there anything more to report on that?
So,
When you say
Just build it
outside
out.
amenities, are you
All
talking
right,
about pools and tennis courts and things like that? I don't know what outside amenities.
so outdoor amenities, currently, we provided the extended sidewalks to get out to Locust Street, added some additional green space. During peer review, we did discuss, during that process, there is an opportunity if additional level area is needed outside the building. Some of those detention areas could go to underground detention areas to make some level additional green space. The thought was possibly tot lot, that type of thing. However, given the demographics that we're looking at, it may not be a very utilized type of amenity. But level green space could be an option to add in.
So for clarity, gathering spaces as opposed to, you're gonna put in a pool and a tennis court and all that
No,
stuff?
no pools, no tennis courts, small rooftop deck,
For gathering?
for gathering. No pickleball, no, we're happy to exclude that.
Linda, is that what your question was?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay.
If I may add to that, the other thing I would note is that what we want to do is make sure that we get the site layout set, and from there we could more accurately program out those types of amenities as we proceed through the hearing process.
Okay. Anything else, Linda?
That's it for now, thank you.
Okay, Anthony?
Couple questions, please. Sovereign Partners, that's our national company. Are you involved in many other projects similar to this at this time that are in the stages of being completed?
So we previously had done a large project in Kansas City, Missouri. We did a similar entitlement in Farmington, Connecticut. We've done this one. Did a residential project in it was 28th and Park Avenue in the city. And then currently, we're largely an investor that we'll look at projects as we see fit for buildings. Recently, we've been buying, more high rises in New York City where, there's residential opportunity potentially, but currently they're Class A office buildings.
And you're doing those under the organization of Sovereign Partners, or different naming
as
sets?
is typical in real estate, so Sovereign Partners is kind of, you could call it our parent company, and then each individual real estate investment that we make is through an LLC, but similar investors, and all operationally, we don't generally use third-party management. We're vertically integrated into management, construction, and everything kind of in-house, except leasing. Leasing we use third parties, but we do currently oversee about 7 million square feet, 2 million square feet, which is in New York City, and then everything else is scattered, much more similar to Ferncroft, outside of New York.
Can you tell me what the LLC entities were for the Missouri, the Connecticut, and the Park Avenues were?
I have no idea. I mean, it was probably like Pondview Owners LLC, like whatever the name of the thing. I'm
Is
happy
that
to get back
something I
to you.
could get from Attorney Smolik after?
Sure, yeah, of course. I think.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I will just add to that, everything is under common control, so meaning, those same partnership controls, everything from a management and all decision-making. So, the different LLCs, I think it's important to just know that it's for legal and tax purposes, it has nothing to do with control. So, control of our firm is under common control.
Correct, thank you.
Across the portfolio.
Time constraints on the roof decks, is there any proposal to, like the roof decks that you're gonna have, What's typical on something like that? Would they be restricted after a certain time? Are they gonna be 24-hour access to anybody that wants to be up on the roof decks partying and stuff at night?
No.
So typically, that would be something maybe that you'd address maybe at a later time. Have you considered providing environmental easement along Locust Street such that in the future, should you have any desire to remove the foliage from that area, that it would remain?
What I will say is that we're gonna have an enforceable decision that will govern the building and the footprint as well. And so that's a matter of further discussion as we get further down the road as to the necessity of something like that.
Okay. At one point, it was mentioned, and I didn't quite get the gist of it, that there's a sewage or a stormwater runoff that runs to the manhole on Locust down towards Ferncroft, is that correct?
So there was a drain line that wasn't mapped. When we started doing the survey, we discovered a couple of manholes out in the woods.
Yeah.
Opened them, chased them down. It runs out to the end of the existing concrete swale on Village, and then there's a catch basin structure there, and then that does head off towards Ferncroft. That is a existing 30-inch concrete pipe that picks up stormwater. Talking with DPW, some of Locust Street is tied into that. We haven't found any of our site tied into that. It should have an easement. We are unable to locate an easement. There's been a title search, there's been alter plans done out here. Talking with DPW, we said, let's just make it legal and add an easement for it. So there's drop manholes because of the grade. The only thing we're really doing to it is to get the driveway in, because there wouldn't be enough cover. There's like a 5-foot drop in the manhole. We're gonna change that to a 3-foot drop to the next manhole so we have enough cover over it, but that doesn't, we're not changing the slope or pipe size. It's not gonna change the hydraulics of it noticeably. I'm sure there's a head difference that you could have rounding errors, but yeah.
I would expect that when we have the meeting that's gonna be
Oh, yeah.
dedicated to site plan, we'll get into the
Correct.
details of this,
Yeah,
is that right?
You may find something interesting there, because oftentimes, when there's a lot of precipitation, as you drive by that one that you had mentioned that's on Locust Street going down towards 100 Ferncroft Road, it's often really pungent with sewerage. And I just didn't know if there's a problem there that you might reconcile in the course of this project, that's all.
Is this one in the road or in the woods?
It's in the road.
All right, so these aren't manholes.
I mean, it may be in the road, I don't know. When you drive by, like 100 Ferncroft down towards that way, it's bad sometimes. You had mentioned that there's exposed foundation on these buildings. Is that gonna just be like concrete, or is there gonna be aesthetic cover over that, like river rock or brick or something?
Ed Bradford, TAT. Yeah, typically we're gonna look to minimize that first of all, but what we do, yeah, we generally will bring the siding down as close to grade as we can to minimize the exposed concrete foundation.
Okay. And I guess I just had one more general question for Sovereign Partners. This is the first time in 50 years the United States has realized negative immigration. There's a lot of projects coming online, Peabody, Salem, everything. I'm sure you know, you drive around, you see them going up all the time. I've seen it in my own business where days on market for apartments now is getting to be like 30 days. I think it's inevitable that rents are probably going to be declining from where they are now. Do you have much of a margin on this when you do your numbers on it? Like, you
So first off, to answer your question, there is a huge housing shortage across the United States, and specifically in Massachusetts, and that's why it's trying to be addressed. I have no idea how immigration is going to affect this or a lot of things in our country. We did underwrite rents. Rents have continued to go up since we did our initial underwriting. If rents were to go down, I think that the project could still be successful. because, logically, if there, is a decline in rent, this usually means that there's a decline in other areas of the economy. What that means in our business is generally interest rates. This is too much granular. Generally, interest rates will come down, and reduced interest rates directly increase the amount that people are willing to pay for multifamily buildings, meaning that you wouldn't necessarily need the same income to make it a successful project, because our value is very much tied to interest rates. So that's my guess. I'm not an economist, but that's the best answer I can give to the question.
If I could add to that, when the project eligibility letter application was filed, there was a market analysis done for the property, and that's really within the purview of the subsidizing agency in terms of market feasibility. It's not really part of the jurisdiction of the board to sort of deal with the feasibility of it from a financial perspective. So.
Thank you. How many million square feet do you own and operate?
It's 6 to 7 million square feet. We do buy and sell
You've done pro formas
constantly.
before?
What?
You've done a pro forma before?
I have. I've been here 20 years, so since I was 22.
We're confident that, we're hopeful that this will be.
And the good news or bad news is that if it doesn't work when we're about to build, we probably are not gonna, build it. And right now it works splendidly, but things do change. So.
Craig, questions?
No, I was just thinking though, if they had to put up the schedule, so that just so the public can see like what our proposed schedule is for the next couple of months.
Can you put that back up? That'd be great.
I don't think, it's not in the package that was handed out, so I think it would just be helpful.
Okay.
Oh,
Caroline?
We got 4 months to go through it.
Yeah.
None of us.
Nothing? Okay.
Just a couple of things just to consider as you're going through this. And again, sort of high-level stuff. I know we talked about connectivity. Town of Middleton has an adopted complete streets policy, so it's going to be important to ensure the connectivity works, not just for the project internally, but connecting to the network, right? Sidewalks, bikes, bike accommodation, those sorts of things. So that obviously is something that's going to be important. It'll be necessary for us on the board here to have adequate and comprehensive peer reviews, not just for traffic. So we'll need to do that, and we can let you know what that's going to be. And then just things such as you talk about SESD and Danvers Water, and we're always talking about lack of water. Every year there's bans, all that kind of stuff. So we would want to make sure that we have proper documentation that this is going to work for Danvers Water and SESD as well. So we do have members from the town office here. And I will start with the administrator. If you have any comment or question you'd like to.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Nothing. How about our town planner? Anything?
Nothing from me.
No, Commissioner.
No, my concerns are similar to Attorney Talaman, so we'll on the existing building in the previous relief. So we'll work on that, and then.
All right, Attorney Talman, any comment?
Yeah, it's just a process-related one to help us to get to the next stage, which is where we're going to dive into peer review. I think it works really well, and I think the board should consider delegating likely to Rich to work with staff, with Anna and Scott and Justin to identify and select peer review consultants, so we don't lose a month every time we do this by having the board have to vote. I think it works pretty smoothly. Obviously, Rich has a lot of experience in the industry, and I think would be a good selection, but it's just a suggestion.
I think I can pull myself together to make a motion to appoint Rich to be the representative.
Thank you again, Craig.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will abstain as the person who's on the hook.
Sorry, Rich.
Yeah. I will say peer reviews for traffic, stormwater, and site design and layout at a minimum, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so that's what we'll be looking at. All right, members of the public, name and address, please.
Joseph Rosano, 2 Nichols Lane, right on the corner of Nichols and Lucas. So, if I could stand, you proposed this utility road for emergencies,
Correct.
Which emergency vehicles?
Fire, ambulance.
So in the previous statement, you mentioned that the roundabout inside might not handle the large apparatus making the turn, and you expect a Middleton police or fire truck to come up and make that swing on Locust Street and in? And you don't perceive that to be a problem?
No, the Middleton Fire was gracious enough to give us their
Okay.
turning radius for their newest apparatus.
Because it's
and we
emergency
ran
road,
that.
why wouldn't it be on Village Road?
The issue is they'd like to have two places to egress the site.
Do you have two places of egress on your property now for your office building? I don't believe so. There's no egress, second egress onto, so I'm just curious. Number two, because I know everybody's got questions. Number two, you're stating that that's gonna be a gated road.
Correct.
And who will have access to that gate?
Middleton Police Fire.
So on Monday afternoon.
Sir, time out.
I'll use question.
No, time out, because I preside over this meeting. And we're gonna do it orderly, and when you ask a question, you're gonna let him answer the question, okay? But,
He's
well,
answering it. I'm just
you're even
asking.
interrupting me. So when I speak, you don't, and then when I'm finished, you can. All right? Same thing with him. If you're gonna ask him a question, let him answer it. I will tell you that this project will be, the things that you're talking about right now, will be under the jurisdiction of the Middleton Fire Department. And so they provided their turning templates. Now, he also mentioned that the town of Danvers may also respond, and so they're getting the turning templates and the radius requirements from the town of Danvers as well. At the end of this, it has to work.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I'm just curious, on Monday afternoon, after getting 18 to 20 inches of snow, what's predicted, how does Middleton plow that Locust Street and
It would
not
be up to
block
the,
you in?
it would be up to the owner, I would suspect. It's his property. He has to plow that.
So the town, that's all I'm getting at, is because I live
Yeah.
on the street, so I wanna know, the plow will still be able to come up Locust Street and go down Locust Street and plow, basically plowing in your entrance, your emergency entrance. And then you will remove that snow and push it into the bus stop across the street for the kids?
It's just like the end of your driveway, right? Like, it's a private property, right?
Yes.
The plows come through, they leave that ridge that we all battle with, the whole storm, and their snow removal people will take care of that.
I'm just curious, because right across the street is a bus stop for the kids. I would hate to see that kids being impeded by, getting on the bus from snow that can't be moved because of an access road. That's all I'm asking. Safety concern, nothing
Sure.
more.
Anything else?
Yes, the height of the buildings, you said they're not gonna impede the existing, but they go over the parking garage. So, what is it? Is it gonna be higher than the parking garage, or the same level? Because in one sentence you said, we're gonna keep everything uniform and there won't be an additional height, and then in the picture, it showed it clearly towering over the parking garage.
Yeah, the proposed buildings are taller than the parking garage, but what we've worked hard to do and have modified the plan to, we think, improve upon is to keep that pretty generous tree buffer. So we're thinking about it really from the perspective of you being down at grade, at the sidewalk level, and looking up. The tree line will cut
Will
off
cover that.
the garage and our proposed building.
And will they be adding additional sidewalk on Locust Street on the other side? Because you said that the kids would be coming out that access road for the bus stop. Where are they gonna walk? That access road is gated.
The sidewalk that's adjacent to the road would not be gated, and that ends at a crosswalk with rapid flashing beacons, like pedestrian.
Yeah, because there is
to
no
allow them-
sidewalk on that side.
Correct,
so I'm
to
just
cross the
curious.
road onto the.
Safety for the kids, yeah, okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions?
Dave DeWest, 3 Nichols Lane, neighbor of Joe Rosano. I want to thank the team for taking our comments from back in September, so I appreciate that you adjusted the plans accordingly. One of the things I've been thinking about is noise, and obviously we've been talking about the obvious thing like the use of the rooftop decks, et cetera. Are these buildings going to be under central AC or individual AC units that are attached to the walls? Because obviously central AC is easy to buffer and dampen the noise, but the individual units that are attached to the walls have a tendency to add to noise. So that's one thing. There is, and is this, you mentioned you're going to be utilizing the underutilized parking garage. Currently, that parking garage, at least once or twice a month, gets cleaned out, and they blow all the dirt out and everything else like that. It makes dust, it makes noise, lasts about 5 hours. It really impacts Joe, but we can hear it throughout the entire neighborhood. So if obviously you're going to be increasing the use of that parking garage, you're going to be increasing the dirt and the dust, and you're probably going to have to be cleaning it a lot more frequently. On top of that, on the southwest side of that garage is an exterior mounted AC chiller. Cooling tower. And that makes noise too. And that's right up against the neighborhood. So if there's any way that if that's part of the project, if you can put up sound dampening walls or anything else like that, which would help sell this project a little bit to our neighborhood, would be a good thing.
I can actually address, because we actually did have some complaints regarding our cooling tower last year. And I'm not there, so I don't know how much better it's gotten. But we actually figured out a way to modulate. There's two cells on that cooling tower. So we used to be running one of the cells like full bore, and then it would switch to the other cell. What we did now is we're running each of the cells at, I think it's like 50% capacity, and we think it's made a big difference, mostly because the person, the gentleman right across the street was being impacted the most by it and was being the most vocal. So I think we addressed that. As far as the sweeping, I think I do have the power to change that sweeping schedule or do whatever. I'm happy to help with that.
It usually happens on a Saturday.
I don't know, that has to be worse, though. So we should talk after. I'm happy to try to address that as well.
Okay, anyone else? Question? Yes, sir.
Dave Dreyer from 4 Callaway Drive. Is Sovereign 100% controlling the financials of this, or are there any other financial partners involved?
So as of now, we have full control of the site. It's a tightly controlled company with a few decision makers. As we move further in the process, we'll need a lender. We'll need a lender to do this. I think we got some preliminary approval for the process to bring in a lender, and then it's a question of how we'll ultimately we do have the ability to self-finance it. Whether we decide to do that or bring in a local partner or whatever it is hasn't been determined yet. But we do have the financial wherewithal to do the project.
And that'll be obviously disclosed to the town if there is a financial change.
If anything changes during this process, we will disclose to the town. As of now, we're trying to get through the approval process and then deal with financing. The one nice thing about this is we do have a cash flowing asset on the property. So, we're not just sitting on land and having to worry about, paying taxes and all that stuff. We've been able, fortunately, to keep the office building, it's not as occupied as we would like, but to keep it producing a very good amount of cash flow, for the last 10 years.
And you didn't get into the construction timeline. I'm assuming that may be at a later date or something, but are there any financial guarantees that once you start, it continues? Or I don't know how that works. Like once you start break ground, that we don't see a project for 15 years, that it happens within a start and a stop time, and I don't know if there's financial guarantees or how that works. So
If they get through this part.
I'm sorry?
Then that will be, if they can get through this part, that'll be the next part, right?
Okay, all right.
But that would be subject to a building permit and all of that, but, Commissioner, I don't know if you want to talk about if there's any requirements relative to, once they get the building permit, how quickly they have to go.
No.
Sorry.
To be determined, or?
TBD.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So. Yes, sir.
What mechanisms?
Name and address, please, sir.
I'm sorry, Mike Gallant, 14 Mansfield. What mechanisms could be put in place to guarantee that there's no encroachment on the current screening that's proposed currently? It's not uncommon that with the evolution of properties, maybe parking demands change, maybe trash demands change. and not having the current screening area or the current buffer between the property and Locust ever be an area that could be reutilized or revisited?
I mean, I can answer that. So as part of this process, there'll be a series of conditions that go with the permit, that will survive with the project. So if it says that they shall provide a certain screening along a certain border, they have to do that, and they have to maintain that, and it has to stay there. And if not, they're in violation of their permit, right? And they can be called in to correct it. So I would suspect that the conditions as part of this project will be very comprehensive and detailed. And it will talk about all sorts of things, from traffic to screening to stormwater to you name it, building facade, all those sorts of things.
And who's gonna police that? Who's gonna police that to make sure it happens?
This guy right here, the commissioner. Yep, that's what he does.
And if there's any changes, like you said, like parking demands change, or whatever, they have to come back to us no matter what, like, or this board.
Most of you were here at the beginning of this meeting. That was somebody who was not in compliance with their site plan. This is a prime example.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Jen Duess, 3 Nichols Lane. Thank you for the hydrant. It's gonna come off Danvers, you said, because they have the water pressure, we don't, because of the wells and stuff?
It's a weird situation, yes, the water is Danvers. The water system is owned by a private entity, which is actually Weston and Sampson's services arm, owns the booster station. But yes, that'll be how the water is provided for that hydrant.
Is one enough?
So on Nichols, I'm sorry, not on Nichols, but on Locust Street, probably not, but we're really adding that to provide some additional protection, and the fire department thought it would be nice to have it there, because they can even fill their tankers from it on their pump trucks at a quicker rate as needed. This project's not really to provide fire protection all the way down the public way. We're adding that as in addition to what we need for our project, because that was something that was requested.
Second, we talked about the screening. That was, I think you said you increased it to 80 feet, the buffer between Locust and with the building pushed back. On the other side, I noticed where your turnaround is, you have tiering heading towards, I think it's Ironwood, facing that way. Are you planning, it didn't look like on that side there were as many trees. Is there any, at this point of the project, adding more screening?
We're in the process of developing a landscaping plan. One of our intents is to provide some, we can't really put high level trees in there because the roots in the proximity to the retaining walls, but shrubs that can block the view of the retaining walls, some smaller evergreen type trees, as well as some vines on top of the walls to come down. So it'll be more of a green view from the road rather than just this concrete stone appearance to really break it up and provide some buffer from it.
And we will be able to see renderings of this at some point in this process. Is that right?
And then I just have one last one on the green. For the roofs, with the outdoor patio or deck or whatever is gonna go up there, would you guys consider making any part of those roofs green roofs to help minimize either sound impact or?
Likely not green roofs. For this kind of construction, wood frame construction, it's not something that's very compatible. But yeah, but the sound impact from the roof decks is something we're studying. It's certainly something we've done on many projects, and given the distance from the roof decks to the surrounding properties, I think the smallest distance is about 200 feet. That goes a long way in addressing sound concerns, but we're studying that very carefully, and we'll be back with more information on that.
The town also has been really, with us, with our cooling tower, has been really proactive in addressing sound. So like, we got our warning with the cooling tower, and we understand they come out with testers. We had to hire our own acoustical engineer to look at it. So, we're not looking to create extra headaches for ourselves. So that it's self-policing as well as town policing.
Thank you.
Okay? Yes, sir, in the back. Name and address, please. Speak loud so we can hear you.
William McBride, 36 Village Road, and just a question is, what's the pet policy gonna be at the apartment complex?
Oh, I don't know. I have a dog. I don't know. I haven't thought about that. That's a good question though.
Was the question, what's the pet policy?
Yeah, well, I mean, like in Ironwood, you can't have a dog more than, I don't know, 10, 15 pounds,
I will say on the public way, Middleton has a policy for pets and leash laws and all those sorts of things,
That's
so.
kind of where I was going, because some people clean up and some people don't.
And generally in multifamily apartments like this, you do have pretty strict pet concerns because apartments are turning over. So in other properties that we've either worked on or been involved with, there are pet policies, and you generally have to pay, an extra fee to have a pet, and there's, pretty stringent rules. And we're willing to very much take that into account and do whatever everyone wants here on pet policy.
Okay, anyone else?
Yep.
In the back, sir?
Yeah, Roger Bourgeois, I'm the 65 Locust Street neighbor, about to have 96 units of neighbors right across the street from my front door. Looking forward to that. I know of some apartment buildings that have pet policies they allow, but they also have a fenced-in area to bring the pet, right? And I know you've got a very tight site, so just something to consider. I want to thank Ed and Tony. I reached out to Justin after I had a heart attack after the last meeting, and he encouraged them to contact me. They were great. They met with me for 2 hours. They listened to my concerns. They went back, and then we met again a couple months later, and they were able to incorporate or mitigate a lot of the things that I was concerned about, and I appreciate that. The one thing, though, that I did mention to them, and they said they weren't opposed to it, but that it was, I think, outside their jurisdiction, and it's kind of an overview type of thing, and I'm sure we'll be able to talk about it down the road, probably especially when we talk about parking, but if cars park along Locust Street that are in Building B, it's gonna be a lot shorter walk than parking in the garage, right? So if there's any way that we can do resident-only parking signs along Locust Street, so that that doesn't happen. Locust Street's fairly narrow. If there's one car parked, right, you can't get 2 cars to go by, right? They were out doing test pits, and they had 3 cars parked there, right? And if there's 2 coming each way, they're not gonna make it, right? So, just concerned, especially once you start construction, that you're gonna have construction workers all the way up and down Locust Street parking. And I know that you guys have a parking plan, and there's some shared parking between the office building and all that. If that doesn't work out, and you don't have adequate parking, guess where they're going? Locust Street. So, if there's any way that the town can put signs up as part of this.
Just a point of clarification, just a question. So for Building B, that has the parking garage inside, right? Is that 100% of the parking for that building?
No, it is not.
Okay, thank you. That explains it. Okay.
Yeah, they'd be parking in the other parking garage and then walking across. So obviously, if they take the sidewalk for the school bus, it's gonna be a lot easier to park on Locust Street and walk across there. And I know that you guys can't go put signs on a public street, but whatever it takes. I know I think they have something similar in back of Fuller Meadow for Brigadoon, so that people don't park there to cut across. So same idea. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just 2 quick questions. They were out about a month ago doing some site work, and I spoke to the gentleman, and they said they were testing for drainage and stuff. Did they, and I don't, being a neighbor, I don't think this is an issue. There's no ledge or anything there, so when it comes time, if this all gets approved, and will there be blasting of ledge and?
So, we have a preliminary geotechnical report. We did borings at the parking deck, in the areas of the buildings, as well as test pits in the areas of the buildings and in the areas of stormwater. We did not encounter ledge in any of those pits.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And actually, as you move closer to the intersection of Locust and Village, kind of that triangle area, just generally, the soils became much better as you moved towards there. That's why the larger detention basin is down in that area.
And then just based on your prior history, let's just say tonight's the last thing. You got the permit, we're good to go. How long roughly does it take? From the soup to nuts, will the neighborhood be impacted by construction?
You're saying once?
Yeah, let's say everything was
Just the
approved,
construction
you're good to
portion.
go, you walk out of here and, you know, you can call up the foreman and say, stop moving some earth.
Conservatively, probably a couple of years.
2 years, okay, it's just 2 years of construction.
Well, we also think that, you know, the board would likely require a construction management plan.
Right, no, I agree with that, but I'm just not holding anybody to anything, just general, you know, I don't build buildings like this. So
I can tell you, relative to construction, things like track pads, they can't make the neighborhood a mess. They can't impede, you know, people trying to get home at night, all those sorts of things, and those will be conditions in the permit. Absolutely. Anything else? We have time for 70 or 80 more questions. Yes.
I just want to, sorry, Gian Zieringer at TAT. I just wanted to clarify, the Ironwood, the total number of the units are 408, correct?
No, there's 105 in each building. That's 210.
You got the information from online and.
There's 15 units on a floor times 7 stories.
Okay, okay, all right, just wanted to make sure that I have the right information.
That was apartments.com.
Yes.
If there is nothing else, I will accept the motion to continue the public hearing to our next meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
What is the date?
So the date is February 26th, but I may have a conflict for that date. I am going to be out of town. So we may have to reschedule if you'd like me there. I don't know why I keep holding this. I feel like I'm, you know, always wanted to be a game show host.
Question is February 26th an okay date, knowing that the peer review may not be quite done, or do you want to do 30 days and give a presentation on traffic or engineering, or do you want to wait till we have, and go to the meeting in March? I guess question for you, John.
Yeah, that's a good question. We would prefer to try to get peer review, at least the first wave of peer review and traffic done. And the question is,
Folks, if you're going to have a conversation, can you go up the halls? Thank you.
we would like to stick to a monthly schedule at a minimum. And the question is whether, with respect to traffic, that would traditionally be our first topic for discussion. And the question is whether the board feels that, or you know, through the chair, whether we can get that scope together and perhaps turn around some preliminary comments such that before the next hearing, we'd be in a position to at least address those comments without traffic. And that's a timing question as to how quickly we can get a peer review scope together. We'd certainly provide the check immediately to get that peer review done, because we like yourselves, you don't want to waste time either. And so the question is, could we at least?
I think that's fine. I mean, we can only do what we can do and go on their availability, but certainly give it a try, and at the very least you can make a presentation and have our expert there, or even if he hasn't done a full report yet. But that would be a goal. I guess bigger question is Rich's availability. Being our resident traffic guru on the board too, I think it's pretty essential that he's here, and if he's not going to be here on February 26th,
right,
I think maybe
How about the 27th?
That's a Friday.
Well,
So
can we switch the agenda? I mean, why don't we swap the March agenda for February? That way you're back for traffic. They can do the presentation on the building size and massing and the civil site plan. You're gonna be our representative anyway.
I mean, and I can watch the.
right, he can catch up. We just need him here for traffic.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So like, would that?
Sure.
Because I will tell you, I'm not available the 26th or the 5th, which is the following Thursday, so, yeah.
But I guess my point is, you can watch the video and present any questions he has at the following meeting. That way we're not holding you up, but at least we can start get some more.
So just do civil, so move straight into civil or architectural or?
I would prefer to be present for the civil as well. Civil and traffic, so if we can move to the architectural
Like
is
building size and massing,
Yeah.
landscape and lighting?
Yeah.
Like we pull that in?
I guess for our team, will you have landscaping?
In terms of landscaping, the notion was to make sure that we had our site plan set before we get into landscaping, but we can certainly start with.
You had building design on February 28th and then building size and mass, or maybe you could just do straight architectural for that first?
Be great, whatever, I mean, I wanna make good use of the time.
You're right,
but-
right.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, as Jay mentioned, we're at the mercy of the peer review consultant, how fast can they get it done? I'm presuming that Jeff has finished his impact and access study, is he done?
Yes, it was submitted.
So, and I wanna, I just wanna look at the network, what he actually studied, because we may wanna expand that a little bit. I don't know, I gotta look at it. And then, how long it's gonna take to get a peer review consultant on board and have him go through it, right? So, we're kinda at that mercy. But I think we're all in agreement that, let's move this along. We don't want this dragging along.
Right. And so, yeah, between now and the next meeting, we can certainly, have further dialogue as to the specifics that we would deal with for architectural design and massing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get all the peer review lined up
Yeah.
anyway, so by the March meeting, we should have some back and forth even between Jeff and whoever our traffic engineer is, and even maybe get to work on the civil as well, so.
Right, yeah, I understand the fact that it might take a little bit of time to get those peer review consultants in place, but traffic and I guess civil and stormwater would be probably the most important ones to get moving as soon
Yeah,
as we can.
usually,
Right.
for sure.
Because we just want to make sure we have the site set, the layout set before we
Right.
discuss other items. So.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so it's to February 26th is the motion.
February 26th, our next meeting, February 26th. So, motion made, you made that, and
Seconded.
And Linda seconded.
I jumped in fast enough this time.
all right, and without any additional discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 3 are items not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. I have nothing that I was anticipating. So with that, motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. So we have a second? Motion made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.